The fog had come suddenly, thick and heavy, swallowing the stars and turning the vacuum of space into something like a stormy sea. The crew of the Aurora's light stared at the view screens, their reflections pale in the dim light of the bridge. No one had seen anything like this in their years of exploration. It was silent, deep, and full of unknown danger. "Captain, sensors are picking up something ahead," said Rin, the ship's navigator, his voice tight with a mixture of awe and unease. "It's old, very old, but it's moving slowly, or maybe it's drifting. Energy readings are almost zero." Alara, the captain, leaned forward. Her gray eyes were steady, focused. She had learned to trust her instincts. "Show me," she said. The main screen flickered, and a shadow appeared, slowly taking shape as the fog parted just enough. A ship emerged from the mist, unlike any the crew had catalogued. Its hull was battered, scarred by time and countless journeys. Panels hung loose, and the outer plating was darkened, almost like it had burned in places long ago. Yet, it moved with a kind of quiet dignity. There was no light, no sign of engines, no communication signals. It was as if the ship had existed in another era, now drifting into their path for reasons unknown. "How can a ship this old still be floating?" asked Kale, the ship's engineer. His fingers hovered over the console, ready to take measurements. But even the sensors struggled to make sense of the readings. Alara didn't answer immediately. She felt the old thrill of discovery stir in her chest, the kind only a human could feel when standing at the edge of the unknown. Humans had always been explorers, driven by curiosity, by the need to know what others would fear. "Prepare the boarding team," she said finally. "We are going to see this ship up close." The crew looked at each other. Boarding missions into unknown vessels were dangerous. Most species would avoid such risks. But humans were different. They were persistent, fearless, and adaptable. They saw possibilities where others saw death. As the Aurora's light drew near, the fog seemed to cling to the old ship. Waves of vapor swirled around it like smoke rising from a forgotten battlefield. The crew held their breath as they scanned the deck. That's when they noticed something strange. "Captain, look," said Rin, pointing to the screen. "There are footprints. On the deck. Wet footprints. They appear to be recent." The bridge fell silent. Wet footprints on a ship floating alone in the void? No one had boarded it in decades, according to the records. Yet there they were, clear and distinct, crossing the metal surface as though someone had walked there just hours ago. Alara felt a shiver run down her spine. Not from fear, but from excitement. "Prepare the boarding pod. We go at once," she said. There was no hesitation. Humans had a way of facing the unknown that was almost reckless. Yet it was tempered by intelligence and intuition. The pod detached from the Aurora's light and slowly drifted toward the old vessel. The fog surrounded them, making the lights of the pod glow dimly. Inside, the boarding team Alara, Kale, Rin, and two others watched in silence. Every sound, every vibration, seemed louder in the oppressive mist. As they landed, the hatch of the old ship loomed before them. Wet footprints led directly to it, crossing the threshold as though guiding them inside. Alara checked her blaster, though she doubted they would face a living enemy. This was something different. Something older. The boarding team stepped inside. The interior of the ship was cold, almost sterile, but not empty. Dust floated in the faint air currents, sparkling in the pod lights. Old panels lined the walls, some still blinking faintly, as if the ship's systems were holding on to life. Kale bent down to touch one of the wet footprints. "Captain, it's real," he said, awe in his voice. "Someone or something has been here. And recently," Alara nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. She had seen many abandoned ships, derelict stations, and wrecked freighters, but there was something different about this one. It had a presence. It felt alive, not in the sense of a crew operating it, but as if the ship itself remembered those who had once walked its halls. "Move carefully," she instructed. We don't know what we're dealing with. The team spread out, weapons ready. But their movements were cautious, humanly precise. Every creak of the metal underfoot, every shadow, made them alert. As they explored, they found signs of the ship's past. Personal items left behind, tools scattered in strange patterns, a faint hum of machinery that no one could identify. It was like stepping into a snapshot of history, frozen in time. In one room, Rin discovered a small console. It flickered to life when he touched it, revealing symbols and writings that none of the alien species they had encountered could read. But Alara recognized a pattern. "These are human symbols," she said slowly, a thrill in her voice. "Someone from Earth or one of our colonies must have built this ship." The realization hit the team hard. This was not just an abandoned vessel. It was a human legacy. A piece of their history, lost to the void, had returned. And yet, the wet footprints made no sense. The crew had disappeared decades ago, and there should have been no one left. Suddenly, a noise echoed through the corridor, a soft, dragging sound, like someone pacing. The team froze. The sound moved in patterns that were deliberate. "Careful," Kale whispered. "It's coming from deeper inside." Alara motioned for silence. She felt the familiar human instinct to face what others would flee. Fear existed. Yes, but it was balanced by curiosity, courage, and the drive to understand. These traits had always set humans apart. They didn't wait for answers. They found them. They followed the sound. The corridors twisted and turned. Some of them partially collapsed, others glowing faintly as old energy systems flickered, and everywhere they looked, the footprints continued, always leading them forward. It was as if the ship itself was guiding them. In one chamber, they found a journal. Its pages were yellowed and worn, but the words were legible. It belonged to the captain of the old ship, written years before. The entries spoke of a mission lost to time, of a journey through dangerous space, and of something unseen that had followed them. Alara read aloud. "We are not alone. Something walks with us. Unseen. It does not speak. It does not attack. But it is here. Always. Watching." A chill ran through the team. Humans, however, did not retreat in the face of mystery. They analyzed, adapted, and acted. Alara's mind raced, piecing together what the journal implied. This ship, this fog, the footprints, everything, suggested a consciousness, a presence that had survived the crew and the decades. "Keep moving," she said firmly. "We need to understand it. We need to see where this ends." The team pressed forward, the footprints leading them into a vast central chamber. The fog outside pressed against the windows, making the stars disappear entirely. Inside, the chamber was empty, except for the sense that they were not alone. Shadows shifted along the walls, not cast by anything physical, and the temperature dropped slightly. Rin's voice was barely audible. "Captain, I can feel it. Something alive. But not like us. Not like anything we've seen." Alara nodded. She had felt it too, that faint pulse of awareness that seemed to echo from the very metal of the ship, and she understood something fundamental. Humans had survived, thrived, and explored because they could face the unknown without surrendering. Their courage, their curiosity, their intuition, it was why they were here, and why they could navigate this place when logic alone would fail. A sudden movement caught their attention. The footprints led to a hallway, and there they vanished, as if absorbed into the walls themselves. The team froze. Kale whispered, "It's like the ship swallowed them." Alara stepped forward, every sense alert. "Then we follow. Humans don't turn back when answers are near. We move forward." The fog outside thickened. Communication with the Aurora's light became patchy. The sensors, unreliable. Time seemed to stretch. But humans do not rely solely on machines. They rely on perception, on instinct, on the ability to improvise, and these traits would guide them deeper into the mystery. As they moved down the hallway, the air seemed to shimmer slightly, like the ship was breathing. The wet footprints reappeared intermittently, guiding them forward, across chambers that had not been touched for decades. Each step was measured, cautious, but determined. The journal's words echoed in Alara's mind. Something unseen was with them. And yet, she felt no immediate danger, only observation. A test. Perhaps even a challenge. And humans, she knew, had always risen to challenges. They adapted, they survived, they learned. By the time they reached the end of the hallway, the chamber beyond was shrouded in darkness, the fog pressing against the glass like water against a submarine hull. A faint hum resonated through the floor, vibrating slightly under their boots. Alara raised her hand. "We stop here for now. Observe, learn, record, and then we step forward together." The team nodded. They had entered the unknown, guided by footprints on a wet deck in a silent ship lost to the fog. But they were human, and humans do not fear the unknown, they face it. They understand it, and they conquer it with courage, creativity, and unity. Outside, the fog thickened, hiding the stars, hiding the void. Inside, the Aurora's Lights crew stood ready, poised at the edge of discovery. Somewhere in the shadows, the old ship seemed to watch them, waiting to see what humans would do next. And in that silent, fog-bound space, history and mystery collided. Fire was, as humans prepared to uncover what had been lost for decades, and to show once again why humanity was unique in the universe. The chamber at the end of the hallway was silent, but it carried a weight that pressed on the humans as they stepped inside. The faint hum under their feet seemed stronger here, vibrating through the floor and up their legs. Shadows clung to the walls in strange patterns, flickering as if alive. The footprints had stopped, and yet, the sense of someone or something watching was stronger than ever. Alara took a slow breath. Her hand hovered over her blaster, though she doubted she would need it. The unknown before them was not hostile in a simple way. It was something more complex, something ancient. "Spread out," she instructed. "Observe everything. Nothing is too small to note." Kale moved first, kneeling near a console that had sparked faintly to life as they entered. The panel glowed a pale green, lines of symbols scrolling across it in a language none of the crew had seen before. Rin and the others gathered around. "It's not alien," Alara said after a moment, her eyes scanning the symbols. "It's human, but old. Very old. Maybe centuries. Our ancestors, or one of the lost colonies. That would explain why sensors couldn't detect it until now." Rin frowned, leaning closer. "Captain, these symbols aren't just decoration. They're instructions. But they aren't complete. It's like someone started writing and stopped abruptly." Rin, Alara knelt beside him, studying the panel. The hum in the floor pulsed in time with a faint flicker of light in the console. Her mind worked quickly, piecing patterns together. "It's a guide. The ship, it wants us to follow something. It left a trail, like the footprints outside." "But what?" Kale shook his head. "A ship can't leave footprints. They're not literal," Alara said. "Not all signals are mechanical. Sometimes the ship is alive in a way we don't understand. It can guide, it can signal, it can communicate in forms beyond our standard sensors. Humans have always found ways to interpret what others couldn't." The team followed a narrow passage deeper into the ship. The walls were lined with hatches, some open, some sealed, all coated in dust. Every room was like a snapshot of history, tools abandoned mid-use, personal items left where they were, papers scattered across tables. It was as though the crew had vanished suddenly, leaving nothing to hint at their fate. Rin paused in one room, crouching beside a small, battered crate. "Captain, look at this." He opened the crate carefully. Inside were old tools, faded maps, and a folded piece of cloth. It was a uniform patch from one of the early human space colonies. a symbol long thought lost. "This confirms it," he said softly. "This is human-made, and whoever was here, they were human too." Ilara nodded. "Which means the ship is one of us. It carries our history. And somehow, it has survived everything else." Her gaze drifted down the hall, and maybe it has preserved more than just the ship itself. Maybe it's preserved a part of them, the crew who disappeared. A sound echoed behind them, a soft, dragging noise, like someone pacing. The team froze. It was faint, but distinct. The footprints outside seemed connected to this sound, as if the ship itself was mimicking the movements of its long-gone crew. Kale whispered, "It's following us, or guiding us." Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Or both. Humans have always faced the unknown with courage. This is no different." We move forward. 2. After of laughter. 2 ATU. 2 AT. 2 ATU. 2 ATU. 2 ATU. 2 ATU. 2 ATU. They reached another large chamber. This one was different. The walls were lined with screens, some flickering, some dark. Strange shapes shifted across the floor, but the shadows did not match any of their movements. A faint energy glow pulsed along the walls, almost like the heartbeat of the ship itself. Rin touched a panel. The glow responded, shifting in color and intensity. "Captain, it's alive. I can feel it. Not in the normal sense, but aware. Observing us." Ilara felt the same pulse under her hands, in her chest, in the tips of her fingers. It was subtle, but unmistakable. The ship was conscious in some way, like an organism made of metal and light. "This is what makes humans different," she said quietly. "We can sense things others cannot. We adapt. We reason. We connect. That's why we're here. Not the aliens who cannot feel beyond logic." Kale frowned. "But why guide us? Why leave footprints? The crew is gone. What does it want from us?" Ilara studied the room, her mind racing. "Maybe it's not about what it wants. Maybe it's about what we can do. Humans have always been problem solvers. Maybe the ship chose us because we can understand it, because we can act where others cannot." They continued deeper into the ship, following the trail that was more visible in the energy glow than in physical footprints. The air grew colder, and the hum stronger. Doors that had been sealed for decades opened slowly as they approached, as if the ship recognized them. In a central chamber, they found something remarkable. A large console sat in the middle of the room, surrounded by glowing panels. The hum of energy was stronger here, almost like a voice. Kale approached it cautiously. "This is the core," he said. "It's stable. But it's been dormant for decades." Ilara placed her hand on the console. A surge of information flashed through her mind. Memories, data, logs, images of the crew. She saw glimpses of their lives, laughter, work, fear, and finally, the moment they disappeared. And through it all, a faint outline of movement followed them, the same footprints they had seen on the deck. "They're here," she whispered. "Not alive in the normal sense, but preserved. Their presence remains in the ship. The footprints, their echoes." Rin looked around the chamber. "So the ship is holding on to them? Preserving them?" Ilara nodded. "Yes. Humans always leave traces of themselves, intentionally or not. This ship has preserved those traces. And now it's guiding us, teaching us, showing us what happened." As they explored further, the team found the crew's personal journals, scattered and partially destroyed. The entries spoke of a mission into uncharted space, encountering strange phenomena. And finally, the crew realizing they were being followed by something unseen. They had not been afraid, only cautious, documenting their experience in the hope that one day someone would understand. "The fog outside," Kale said, his voice low. "It's like it's still here, waiting. The ship didn't just disappear. It survived. And it waits for humans to find it, Elara agreed. And we are here. That's why humans have always endured. Our curiosity, our courage, our ability to act when others hesitate. Those are our strengths. The ship recognized that. And it brought us here. A sudden vibration ran through the chamber, stronger than before. The walls pulsed with light, revealing images of the crew moving through the ship. It was as if the past and present were merging. The footprints appeared again, on the glowing floor, leading toward a sealed doorway at the far end. Elara motioned to the team. We follow. This is where it leads. They approached the doorway. As they neared, the hum intensified, filling the chamber with a resonant sound that seemed to communicate, rather than threaten. The door slowly opened, revealing a hallway filled with more shadows, and the faint outline of movement. Rin swallowed hard. Captain, it's like they're still walking. Even after all this time. Yes, Elara said. And that is the difference humans make. Life leaves traces. And humans, we can follow them. We can learn. We can survive where others fail. That's why we are here. In the middle of the fog, on this ship that should have been lost forever. The hallway led them to another chamber, smaller, with a console in the center. The glow here was brighter, warmer, almost comforting. Kyle reached out to touch it, and the ship responded instantly. Lights shifting in a pattern that resembled a heartbeat. The core is responding to us, he said. It knows we are human. Elara placed her hand on the console, closing her eyes. She felt the presence, the echoes of the lost crew, the ship's consciousness, and the hum of the fog outside. All of it combined into a singular understanding. Humans had the ability to connect, to perceive, to act, and that was why they had been chosen. This ship, she said quietly, is not a threat. It's a guide. And it's teaching us something no one else could learn. Only humans could understand it. Only humans could follow its path. Rin nodded. We need to document everything. Every symbol, every footprint, every movement. This is history, Captain. And it's ours to preserve. Elara looked around at her team. We move carefully, we observe, and we prepare. The next step will not be easy, but humans do not back down. We face the unknown, we adapt, and we survive. That is who we are. The chamber hummed, the lights pulsing in response to her words. The footprints glowed faintly, guiding them forward. The fog outside pressed against the windows, thick and unyielding. But inside, humans moved with purpose, determination, and courage. They had stepped into history, into mystery, and into something greater than themselves. And as the old ship waited, silent and ancient, humans began to uncover the secrets it had held for decades. The deeper the team moved into the ship, the more the air seemed to hum with energy. The faint glow from the panels and consoles illuminated their path, but shadows danced along the walls, as if alive. Every step carried a weight, not of fear, but of anticipation. They were approaching the heart of the old ship, the place where its secrets waited, and where the echoes of the long-lost crew were strongest. Elara led the way, her senses alert. She could feel something in the air, an awareness that was not human, not alien, but something in between. The ship itself seemed to watch, to measure, to test. She knew instinctively that humans had been chosen to discover this, not by chance, but because of what they could do. Humans had courage, empathy, and intuition, traits that allowed them to navigate situations that logic alone could not solve. Kale stopped beside a console. Captain, the energy readings are spiking, he said. It's responding to us, to our presence. I don't know if it's conscious, but it's aware, Elara nodded. Then we proceed carefully. Humans can communicate in ways machines cannot. We adapt. We understand. That's why we are here. They entered a vast chamber, unlike any part of the ship they had seen before. The floor glowed faintly under their feet, tracing the shapes of the footprints they had followed from the deck. The walls shimmered with energy, displaying faint images of the crew living, moving, working, and then vanishing. It was like a memory made real, a record preserved in the ship itself, Rin whispered. It's like the crew never really left. Their essence, their presence is still here. Yes, Alara said softly. The ship has preserved them. It holds on to them, keeps them alive in a way. And now, it wants us to understand, to continue where they could not. The footprints began to move again, faintly glowing and guiding them deeper into the chamber. As they followed, the air grew warmer, the hum stronger. The ship seemed to pulse in rhythm with their steps, as if acknowledging their presence. Kale paused, looking around. Captain, I think it's learning about us. It's observing, testing us. It knows we're human. Alara smiled faintly. Of course it does. Humans have always been able to do what others cannot. Our courage, our creativity, our ability to solve problems in impossible situations, that is why we survive where others fail. The ship recognizes that. They reached a central console that was larger than any they had encountered. The panels glowed brighter, displaying streams of data that moved too fast for the eye to follow. Images of stars, galaxies, and unknown sectors of space flashed across the screen. Among them were coordinates, instructions, and logs from the long-lost crew. Rin studied the screens. These logs, they are incomplete. It's as if someone or something interrupted them. But the patterns, they form a map, a path through space. Alara examined the glowing data. It's not just a map, it's guidance. The ship wants us to follow this path. Humans have always charted the unknown, explored what others fear. This is no different. The chamber vibrated suddenly. A pulse of energy that made the air feel alive. Shadows shifted along the walls, forming shapes that resembled figures walking, gesturing, and working. The echoes of the lost crew were stronger now, almost tangible. Kale whispered. Captain, it's like they're awake. Not physically, but in the ship. They are conscious in some way. Alara nodded. And humans can connect with them. That is what sets us apart. We can perceive, understand, and respond to what others cannot. That is why we are here. Why we can continue their journey. The footprints glowed brighter, leading to a sealed doorway at the far end of the chamber. Alara approached cautiously. She could feel the presence beyond the door, faint but undeniable. The ship's consciousness, if it could be called that, seemed to pulse with recognition. This is it, she said quietly. This is where the ship wants us to go. Quote, they entered the hallway beyond the door. The glow from the footprints intensified, forming patterns that guided them through twists and turns. The air was charged with energy, humming in a rhythm that seemed almost alive. Rin touched the wall. Captain, the ship is reacting to us. It's adapting, changing its environment as we move. Yes, Alara said. Humans can interact with the unknown in ways others cannot. We perceive patterns, we adapt, we survive. That is what makes us special. And the ship knows it. The hallway opened into a large chamber filled with light. At the center was a spherical structure, floating slightly above the floor. Energy streams arced from it, connecting to the walls and ceiling. It was beautiful, alien, and yet familiar. A combination of human ingenuity and something beyond comprehension. Kale approached cautiously. This must be the core of the ship. It's alive, responding to us. I've never seen anything like this. Alara stepped closer. She placed her hand near the sphere, feeling the hum of energy pulse through her body. The images of the lost crew appeared again, walking, working, and then vanishing. The sphere seemed to respond, shifting, glowing brighter, and pulsating in rhythm with their movements. It's showing us memories, Alara said, and it's communicating. Not with words, but with energy, patterns, and images. Humans can understand it. We can interpret what it means, act upon it, and survive where others would fail. Rin nodded. The footprints. They were a guide, leading us to this. Everything we've seen, every echo, every shadow. It's all been preparing us to understand the ship. Alara smiled. Exactly. Humans have always learned from the past, preserved knowledge, and adapted. That is why we endure, why we explore, and why we are here now. The ship has recognized our potential. It trusts us to continue its mission. Suddenly, the sphere pulsed strongly, sending a wave of energy through the chamber. The shadows of the crew became more distinct, moving like ghosts through the light. The team felt a presence, not threatening, but aware, watching, waiting. Kale said, "Captain, it's testing us. It wants to see if we are ready." Alara nodded. And we are. Humans face challenges, adapt, survive. That is our nature. We do not flee from the unknown. We meet it head-on, with courage and creativity. The sphere projected a series of images, unknown planets, strange anomalies, and regions of space that had never been charted. Coordinates blinked, highlighted, forming a path through the cosmos. Rin studied the data. These are destinations, unknown, dangerous, but possible. The ship is giving us the chance to explore, to continue where the lost crew could not. Alara turned to the team. This is why humans exist in the universe. To explore, to endure, to face the unknown and overcome it. The ship has shown us the way. Now we must follow. The chamber pulsed again, and the footprints glowed brightly, leading to an exit that opened into a narrow corridor. The fog outside pressed against the windows, thick and unyielding. But inside, humans moved with purpose. They had learned from the ship, from its echoes, and from the footprints that guided them. Kale said softly, "Captain, the ship, it's alive. But it trusts us. It's letting us take control." Alara nodded. And that is why humans survive where others fail. Our courage, our adaptability, our understanding of the unknown, it allows us to navigate challenges others cannot. We are ready. As they moved through the corridor, the echoes of the lost crew followed them, guiding, watching, and perhaps even encouraging. The ship hummed in response, alive in ways that defied explanation, and yet perfectly clear to those who could perceive it. Rin whispered, "Captain, the footprints, they are leading us to something bigger. I can feel it." "Yes," Alara said. "We are not just exploring a ship. We are exploring ourselves, our potential, and our place in the universe. Humans are special. We survive, we adapt, we connect. And now, the ship has given us the chance to prove it once more." The hallway opened into a final chamber, vast and open, filled with light and energy. The sphere floated above the center, streams of energy connecting it to the walls, the floor, and the ceiling. The echoes of the crew were strongest here, moving like shadows, and yet somehow real. Kale approached the sphere. This is the heart of the ship, the core of its consciousness. If we can interact with it, understand it, we can complete what the lost crew began. Alara placed her hand on the sphere. Energy pulsed through her. Images of the past, present, and possible futures flowing into her mind. The ship was alive. The crew was alive in memory. And humans were capable of understanding it all. "This is our moment," she said softly. "The ship has guided us, taught us, and tested us. Now it is up to us. Humans have always faced the unknown. We have always survived. And now, we will rise to this challenge." The sphere pulsed brightly, and for a moment, the chamber seemed to dissolve into light and energy. The echoes of the lost crew moved around them, guiding, observing, and perhaps smiling. Humans had been chosen, not by chance, but because of who they were: courageous, creative, adaptable, and capable of understanding what no one else could. And as the chamber filled with light, the humans of the Aurora's light knew one thing clearly. They were ready to face the final challenge: to emerge from the ship's fog and unknowns, and to prove once more why humans endure, explore, and thrive in the universe. The chamber glowed brighter than before, almost blinding in its intensity. The sphere floated at the center, pulsing with life, its energy streams weaving intricate patterns along the walls, floor, and ceiling. The echoes of the lost crew moved gracefully through the chamber, like shadows caught in sunlight, silent yet unmistakably alive in their memory. The humans of the Aurora's light stood at the threshold, awed, cautious, and ready. Ilara took a deep breath. Her hand hovered over the sphere. This was the culmination of everything they had discovered: the footprints on the wet deck, the corridors echoing with memory, the glimpses of the lost crew. All of it led here. And now, she understood what humans had been chosen for. Kale whispered, "Captain, it's like the ship is waiting for us to make the next step, to take control." "Yes," Ilara said softly. "But it's not control in the normal sense. The ship trusts us. It expects humans to do what only humans can observe, understand, decide, and act. That is why we endure, why we survive, and why we are here." Rin approached, his hand brushing against the glowing floor. "The paths, the coordinates, the patterns. They're a map, a path to something beyond this ship. It's giving us a chance to finish what the lost crew could not." Ilara nodded. "And that is our duty. Humans explore. Humans adapt. Humans survive. That is who we are. And this ship has recognized it. Now, we must rise to the challenge." The sphere pulsed stronger, sending waves of energy through the chamber. The echoes of the crew became more vivid, their movements synchronized with the energy, guiding the humans toward understanding. Every detail in the chamber, symbols, lights, footprints, was a clue, a message, a step in a test. Kale adjusted the console. "The energy is responding to our thoughts, our presence. It's alive in a way we can interact with. If we synchronize with it, maybe we can access its full potential." Ilara placed her hand firmly on the sphere. The energy surged through her. Images of the past, present, and possible futures flooding her mind. She saw the lost crew, the challenges they faced, the unknown phenomena they could not overcome, and she saw herself and her team poised to continue the mission, to succeed where the others had only begun. "This is it," she said. "We must move together, trust ourselves, and trust what humans can do. The ship will guide us, but only we can make the final choices." To our. The echoes of the crew shifted, forming a circle around the sphere. The footprints glowed brighter, leading outward, into a smaller, previously sealed chamber at the far end. The team followed, moving as one. The ship seemed to breathe with them, alive in every pulse of energy, every flicker of light. Inside the sealed chamber was a core within a core, smaller and denser, radiating power. Streams of energy connected it to the main sphere, and the hum was louder, almost overwhelming. The team felt it resonate with their presence, testing, observing, waiting. Rin stepped forward. "Captain, the core. It's alive, too. It's a record of everything the ship has ever experienced. The lost crew, their discoveries, the challenges they faced. It's all here." "Yes," Ilara said. "And humans can interact with it. We can understand it, adapt, and use it to continue the journey. That is why we exist. That is what makes us different. That is HFY." Kale studied the energy streams. "We need to synchronize with it, align ourselves with the patterns, the echoes, the footprints. Only then can we activate it fully." Ilara nodded. "We do it together. Humans survive because we act as one when needed. We think, adapt, and persevere. Ilara, we tokuf. We tokuf. The team joined hands, placing them on the core simultaneously. A surge of energy pulsed through the chamber, wrapping around them like a wave. Images of stars, unknown worlds, and cosmic phenomena filled their vision. The lost crew appeared, not as threats, but as guides, their shadows leading the humans toward understanding. The sphere's energy intertwined with theirs. Symbols on the walls shifted, forming patterns that made sense in the human mind. The coordinates of uncharted sectors of space were revealed, along with paths that could safely navigate cosmic hazards. The ship had preserved knowledge, but humans were the key to unlocking it. The ship. It's giving us everything it has, Kale whispered. All its knowledge, all its memory, all of it. Ilara's eyes shone with determination. And we will use it wisely. Humans explore. Humans endure. Humans adapt. That is why we were chosen. That is why we survived. The echoes of the lost crew moved around them, guiding, watching, and acknowledging. The footprints glowed brightly, leading to a final pathway within the chamber. The humans followed, moving with confidence, understanding the patterns, and interacting with the ship as one unified presence. Suddenly, a pulse of energy shot through the chamber. The ship's consciousness, fully awakened, resonated with the team. The past, present, and possible futures merged into a single stream of understanding. The humans could see the lost crew's final moments, the dangers they faced, and the choice they could not make. And now, humans could make it. Kale's voice trembled with awe. Captain, we can finish it. We can complete the mission the lost crew started. Yes, Ilara said. And we will. Humans always face the unknown. We adapt. We survive. We overcome. That is what the ship has taught us. That is why we are here. The core pulsed brighter, energy cascading through the chamber. The humans felt it resonate with their minds and bodies, aligning them with the ship's consciousness. Every thought, every movement, every choice mattered. The ship was alive, and it trusted humans to act. Ilara looked at her team. Together. Focus. Trust ourselves. Humans do not fail when we act with courage and intelligence. The team concentrated, moving with the flow of energy, following the glowing footprints, and interacting with the ship's consciousness. The echoes of the lost crew guided them, showing what had worked, what had failed, and what must be done to succeed. A final surge of energy enveloped them. The sphere, the core, and the chamber pulsed as one, radiating power and light. The fog outside pressed against the windows, but inside, humans moved with clarity, precision, and understanding. Rin spoke softly. Captain, it's done. The path is clear. The ship's mission is complete. Ilara nodded. Yes. The ship has trusted us, and we have risen to the challenge. Humans survive, explore, and adapt. That is our nature. That is why we endure in the universe. The chamber's energy began to stabilize, the sphere and core glowing steadily. The echoes of the lost crew faded slowly, their presence now a memory, a guidance that humans could carry forward. The footprints on the floor remained, faint but permanent, a record of the journey, a symbol of the ship's choice and the humans' courage. KL looked around. Captain, the ship is alive, but it recognizes us as capable now. We can leave, and it will continue to exist, preserved, but its knowledge is ours to use. Ilara smiled. And we will. Humans explore, humans adapt, and humans endure. That is HFY. That is why we are here. That is why the universe recognizes us. The team moved back toward the entrance, the chamber glowing softly behind them. The fog outside had not lifted, but they did not need the stars to guide them. Humans do not rely solely on technology or clarity, they rely on perception, courage, and intuition. And those traits had brought them this far, and would carry them farther still. As they exited the ship, the footprints on the wet deck glowed faintly in the fog. The echoes of the lost crew had faded, but their presence remained a memory preserved in metal and energy. Humans had succeeded where logic alone could not, understanding and completing the ship's mission. Ilara looked out into the void. Stars shone faintly through the fog, and distant nebulae painted the darkness with colors no one could describe. The old ship, silent and ancient, floated beside the Aurora's light, its secrets unlocked, its knowledge preserved, and its purpose fulfilled. "This is only the beginning," Ilara said. "The universe is vast, unknown, and full of challenges. But humans will explore it, endure it, and thrive within it. That is our nature. That is HFY." The team nodded. They had faced the unknown, adapted, and succeeded. They had proven that humans could understand what others could not, perceive what others ignored, and act where others hesitated. They were explorers, survivors, and witnesses to a legacy that had waited decades for someone capable of completing it. The old ship shimmered faintly, as if acknowledging them, then settled back into silence. The fog began to thin slightly, revealing the first glimmers of distant stars. The humans of the Aurora's light prepared to depart, carrying the knowledge, courage, and legacy of the lost crew into the vast unknown. And as they left the fog behind, the universe seemed to recognize them not as mere visitors, but as humans, curious, brave, resilient, and capable of rising to challenges that even time itself could not conceal. The journey of the old ship was complete, but the journey of humans was only beginning. They would explore further, face unknown dangers, preserve knowledge, and endure. That was who they were. That was why humanity mattered in the universe. And the footprints on the wet deck, once mysterious, were now a symbol, a silent testament to human courage, curiosity, and perseverance, guiding those who would follow across the stars.